curious to see what Bye can do with the addition of Sugar Free and Hypnot. Gentlemen, take it away.
Sugar Free, just like the drink I was drinking a moment ago.
Yeah, it looks like it's just Hypnot actually coming in, so no Sugar Free quite yet. We saw some shades of Quad Tank there, but they're going to swap off. I'd be surprised. Double Sniper here on Sanctum. Okay, Carbon and Aether. Possibly feeling it.
All right, this is either going to go really well or really badly. There's not much in between, but the good thing about this is that it can crunch, and it does! It gets Retzi in the beginning, and I was going to say the end of that sentence would be Farah, but hey, if you get a 76, why not? An excellent opening for Bye Week here. Now, the Res is going to come up and undo some of that, and they drew Hypnot into the pit with that halt. So Simplicity is actually able to recover quite well here. Now they just have to move on to the point.
Yeah, in just a split second, it became a 6v5, and the opposite end there with the Resurrection coming out to bring Retzi back into this, and as the point unlocks, it will be Simplicity to take it first, and now they're going to have to really try and deal with this Orisa Diva combination. It's so difficult to burst down this shield because you have so many defensive cooldowns.
Not a big fan of the Double Sniper here, where, okay, their top target is the Farah, but all the while they have to move on to the point. They're not equipped to follow up any early pickoff they get, and the top thing's off, there's a Mercy there. So they get the pickoff onto the Orisa, but now they have to move in. They have to move in before the Res comes up. The Res is going to be coming up here in a second, and they're not equipped to dive, so okay, you got to pick off, but the Justice rating from above, KSF snuck one in. Bye Week's still doing well on the point, though. It's not the worst. Retzi's got to throw himself on the point, and it's not great for him, and he gets booped right off.
Yeah, halted right off by Hypnot, and so Bye Week will take control of the point. 40% taken by Simplicity in the meantime now. And so we do have KSF swapping off. It's already difficult enough to try and make that entry with that Farah, and so he's going to be a much easier approach for him as he does run that Junkrat now.
So the Dragon Sword is going to be coming out here from Aether. He can use that to force movement as Simplicity. They can't hold behind the Orisa shield the entire time because Aether, they're going to set this up to where he throws down the Dragon Strike and everyone goes in. Simplicity, they've already opened up here at the Valkyrie, so they're forcing the point, but it's going to be the Dragon that forces them back. And the Dragon, a big reason why DPS just got eaten there. Dogman got in, the last little bit of DPS, but now DPS is going to be brought back up. They're not able to secure the kill. They're not applying enough pressure to deny these resurrections from Simplicity, and as a result, now you have Retzi, room to work with on the side. Hanzo on his sides, but blown up! Didn't look to his left! And Bye Week, for now, they're maintaining control of the point and keeping Simplicity back a bit.
They have, and in the chaos of the fray, Aether is able to sneak by some arrows. Look at him, down to 3 HP with a scatter shot, finishes off DPS. So Bye Week, some cheeky picks here. We'll actually hold on to it. 60% now. Simplicity, though, they're making some swap-offs. Ginger Pop is now going over to Lucio. DPS going over to Winston, so they're just going to try and dive this out, try to alleviate some of that pressure.
And there's no reason not to really dive on this, given that they're running the Hanzo. I think that staying with Orisa would have been a mistake just because of how much Dragon Strike was actually messing with their positioning to a degree. You have the tire out here early on. The Pulse Bomb that came out just whipped. KSF finds Carbon on the side. Good enough. Now you have the 6-on-5, and you see Simplicity just roll on in off of it, and Bye Week, they have to give up.
They do back away. They give it up. 88% for Bye Week. Aether now with another Dragon Strike. We'll see if he has the same opportunity last time. He just threw it into a choke point here. Does he have the same positioning? You can roughly see where they are. He will send that out.
He sends it out, but Simplicity should be able to get out of it. Does reasonable damage to Winston, but most of it's already gone. Although KSF, it was Carbon on one side, got him while he was trying to get away from the Dragon Strike, so it does enough. It set up Carbon. Bye Week moves in as Aether goes gorilla hunting, gets DPS in the air, and the Hanzo's still working out here to a degree.
Now we do have the self-destruct coming out from Simplicity, from Zombs, just to try and stagger this even longer now. He does get the remake back in, but Dogman able to take out Ginger Pop now. Transcendence just try and keep this going here. KSF with the blade takes out Carbon.
83 to 88. Bear in mind, Simplicity has had control this entire time. That's why they're still delaying, even though it's a losing fight. Bye Week, though, they've got enough cleanup. They should be able to flip this in a moment, even as KSF sacrifices his body for the cause. However, the problem is that he's not going to be back by the time they have to contest this, so they're going to have to barrier without him.
Might have to barrier indeed without him now. 96%. Someone has to touch the point. 98. Sound barrier used now by Simplicity. course, KSF still not there yet. Dragon Strike has come out, but it did not hit onto anyone quite yet. Primal Rage used by Hypnot.
The barrier is already gone. Retzi takes a stray arrow to the dome. Bye-week, a huge advantage here as KSF. A emergency blade, a desperation blade comes out. Not able to land much of anything. Sure, you DMAC Diva, but your team is dead. And Bye-week, hardly conventional, but working out here. They open double sniper. They ended with Hanzo. Simple geometry as they take round 1.
Simple geometry indeed. The surprise factor alone really did. It looks like catch Simplicity out. They weren't ready for it at all. I mean, Aether started off, I believe, no, Carvin started off with that Widowmaker with a great pick on the Soldier 76 at the beginning of the round. Then from there, Simplicity were constantly caught in this juggling act where they wanted to have the pressure, but they also had to respond to the threats that were coming out from Bye-week. Bye-week just stayed ahead of them every step of the way.
So we were curious about Bye-week. Would we be seeing less gimmicky comps out of them? And the last composition actually still more in the realm of gimmicky. This one, more in the realm of standard. So this is a very good evaluation point for them here versus Simplicity. Simplicity is running standard, but with a Sombra, which at this point can be said to be standard. It's not always effective. We'll see what works out.
Yeah, and so they do have KSF, of course, on that Sombra now charging forward. He's going to be able to get the Mega Health Pack control along with the minis everywhere around the point. Hypnot will get hacked and instantly gets focused down. Retzi is there with the follow-up damage.
Hypnot looked lost there. I think they were expecting more fall-throughs, and they weren't really ready to do it, and they just focused out Hypnot immediately, so Simplicity takes the early advantage here. They D-back Waifu, and that's going to be it. They're going to take control of the point.
They will. There's a little bit of a staggered Carbon trying to come on, but they will lose the point. Simplicity, once again, takes control of it now. KSF with full control across the map. With those health packs now. Retzi holding on the high ground over on the right-hand side by statue here. This gives them a lot of space and a lot of line of sight. You have Bye-week starting to hover, trying to decide where they want to approach from. It looks like they're going to send 4 out from the left.
Bye-week, their best chance here is someone like Dogman to get an early pickoff with Zen. That is one of the better pickoff opportunities from what we've seen, because the problem is that if the fight goes long and they don't get an early pickoff, you're going to get EMP'd and you're probably going to lose the fight. They're split off enough, that's not a big deal. They get Retzi. Now, this is winnable to a degree. Simplicity, they drop the EMP, they push it back, and the big part there is they got the DMEC. Now they have tank superiority. They get to roll in. And you know, Carbon's still up. Pulse bomb out, doesn't stick. No, he's taken down instead. Simplicity. They still have to invest in Transcendence here, so not the worst for Bye-week, but probably not going to be a winning fight.
They are starting to be forced back. Retzi now charges forward with that tactical visor. Doesn't come up with much, but he does force Bye-week away from the point. Dogman, the cheeky peek, but he will fall for his efforts there. And so Simplicity now with 60%, 40 away from tying up Nepal.
So in a good spot. And now when you look at Bye-week coming in, it's down to Aether, right? Where Aether has to find a good way to the back. It's only Valkyrie that can kind of interrupt, and Valkyrie isn't really the greatest at stopping a Dragon Blade from doing what it wants to do. So the key here, a good dive in, space made from Aether, and ideally squishy supports, or Retzi would be his ideal target. So you have Bye-week rotating around, the tanks are on the left, Aether's on the right. The tanks are gonna come in from this left side, the Valkyrie's out. Not a big deal for Aether, but he's already getting poked down. He goes down to 25 HP before the blade, but Retzi blows himself up, trying to defend himself. Aether coming in from the side, forced out, taken down, and Simplicity, a good counter dive to deal with this.
Yeah, they are starting to stabilize here. Self-destruct is out by Waifu, connects onto 1J Lee, but leaves everyone else vulnerable. Even a hack onto the baby Diva. Waifu will fall. With that, we do have the ones that try to make it on the point, but no, Hypnot will not. Simplicity tied up 1-1.
So that was our first taste of Bye-week being standard in this week. What are your thoughts, Jamerson?
I feel like they did approach that map correctly, especially when they had Retzi playing by statue with that Soldier 76. They took the left-hand side so that he was forced to rotate into mid, and then he got jumped upon by the tank line. But beyond that, once it came to executing and finishing off these fights, they just lacked the lacked the bite on the side of Bye-week.
I mean, these may be dog puns coming in here, but what I would also note here as well is just Hypnot seemed lost at points here, because playing Winston in a situation where it's standard 2-tank is different than when you're playing a tank in a quad tank setup. You can't be as crazy putting yourself up there, and he got picked off first multiple times.
So now as we load onto Village, Simplicity goes for the high ground with both teams now. Dell on the opposite end, instead of running the Lucio, is running the Mercy, so they did have that speed advantage to get out here quicker. KSF getting some poke off, not too much now. Does force back Aether, drop down low, great! Helix rocket there to finish him off.
KSF from downtown. You get the Zenyatta who's trying to be a little bit over-aggressive, you win the fight. The Helix rocket is well delivered, and after that early pick, Simplicity, way more stopping power. They're gonna take this relatively easily, and bye week now, stuck trying to get back in on a control side that's actually pretty difficult to retake.
Yeah, this is gonna be difficult indeed, and with so many people going down quickly, bye week weren't able to actually heal up any damage. There was just too much burst there. That's why you're seeing a huge difference in the support ultimates here. Ginger Pop at 56 now, the 1v1. Retzi wins that out. He had the help of the orb.
Retzi used the support really well, wins the Trace on Tracer, and bye week they can't reasonably commit to this. They have to back out and wait, and precious time is being wasted here while they wait for Carbon to come back in.
Yeah, 30% now already accrued by Simplicity. Retzi has the bomb. He spotted out the Mercy, and now he's on the lurk over the top, just barely misses.
They knew it was coming. They didn't keep going in, but he goes back in and just takes down Hypnot for free. Look at how overextended Hypnot was there relative to where his Diva was just barely in range of defensive matrix, relative to the rest of his team. bye weeks engages in this more standard setup are not convincing me right now.
Yeah, they were really split up. You had both the tanks in Kitchen, while we had just seen a moment earlier some bye-week supports were on the low ground there. There was no support for them at all whatsoever. If he took any damage at all, if he even survived that pulse bomb, if not, was going to die anyhow. And so now here we go. They do have that sound barrier, the engage coming out from Simplicity. Now Tactical Visor over the top, but it's Carbon who's able to get into the back. It's evened up 1-1.
Well, while it's there, though, KSF has no one on him. Tac Visor pulling people back, Snipe Stell out of the air with the Helix rocket, and again, putting pressure on Dogman in the back. He has like 1 HP right now. Able to get away, but not for long. X-Retzi, your local neighborhood garbage man, throws him into the trash, and Simplicity now 1 fight away from taking this first map.
They have some great tools to do it with. 1J Lee, he's gonna have the Transcendence. The bomb is there for both Retzi and Zoms. So everything might just come up exploding for Simplicity to end this all off. Overtime now ticking away.
Not really far out, but has the primal rage this time. He's gonna stay alive, uses it before taking much damage. Aether moves in, Blade out, gets Ginger Pop, looking for more. An easy 2K, and he's not done yet. Gets Wanja on the rebound. And bye week, using that last gasp to their advantage. But now they have to hold for the rest of the map.
They do. They have to play this out perfectly here. Do bye week start it off. They will have the Transcendence for this next fight if they so need to use it here. They've got to be careful. They got to pop it quickly.
Dogman has to babysit Hypnot here. Hypnot goes out a little bit too far. He's already low. You got to transcend to save him now if he's not able to leap out. So was able to leap out. A little bit better engage and disengage this time from that as Carbon takes runs against the game at the point. They didn't get on the point in time. Simplicity has already made this more dangerous for bye week. Bye week isn't getting any progress as long as this goes on. And KSF again has given himself room to breathe. And then Transcendence might be on the point, but Simplicity, they wait just the right amount of time. Come back in, and no, they end up giving up, but it doesn't matter. It's KSF. He built Attack Visor. He cuts down 3, and off of a just basic error there, bye week made that much harder for themselves, and Simplicity capitalized.
And all this time, it was overtime, but Aether coming back in, picks up a triple kill. How is he doing this man? Hypnot's still alive, but as soon as that barrier goes down, it's gonna be KSF just to chunk him out. He falls, and with that, Simplicity still trying to battle back now as we do have the respawns coming in.
New idea, kill KSF, please. He is in the back, and they actually retake. But now you have all the respawns for Simplicity. Coming back in, Carbon just failed to get on Zenyatta. And again, there's no pressure on KSF. Please, you can't let a soldier have this much room. It is unbelievable what KSF is doing right now, in large part because it's just not getting tested. Retzi, they're on the cleanup, and Simplicity now, this should be for good. Overtime, ticking away, and they take map 1 away from bye week.
All right, bye week came into this. Again, we talked about the changes they made. They were going to switch up their approach. They're no longer just a quad tank team, so let's go ahead and score just after 1 map what we think of the changes. When they were playing this unpredictable style, almost standard silver competitive queue comp lineup, they seem to have more success than when they were trying to run something standard. What do we like?
I mean, right now, they haven't really shook the image of being, hello, we are the gimmick team, because they did do well by running a less than standard composition. And then when they ran standard dive, you just saw the clear difference in engaged coordination between bye week and every other team where, you know, it might not even be Hypnot's fault per se. It's just whoever's making the calls where he got caught out multiple times.
Well, in that really long fight at the end there, you were calling out Dogman. He did need to make that Transcendence be useful, but he waited until there were only 4 members left on the point. Hypnot had fallen, and I forget, I think it was Aether had also fallen there. And so at that point, when one of your tanks falls, that Transcendence really loses its value. Hypnot was at about 200 HP for a good amount of time, and he could have popped it at any time to keep his team in that fight.
Also, they just need to adapt. I mean, look, very obvious part of this match is that KSF had way too much room to work with in a lot of these fights. I think it's because their dive wasn't well coordinated. They lost tanks early on. And what happens when you don't have pressure? You have KSF here with room to work with for days. Just, it's a soldier dream, is what it is.
I was going to say, absolutely living this Soldier 76 dream. We've all picked up that pulse rifle once or twice and said, gosh, what if I could just have my visor and nobody dealt with me? And absolutely just tearing through the lines of bye week, and bye week just not addressing it.
What if I was invisible?
I mean, also the odd thing there, the reason why KSF was afforded that much pressure, especially early on where we saw where we spawned off on Village, was the fact that they started off with the Lucio, and on the opposite end, Dell started off on a Mercy, and that's an odd choice. If you're not going to be running the Pharah here, to not go for that Lucio, you know you're going to be contesting the high ground, you know you need that speed boost just to get there for that first fight, but because they didn't, they weren't able to get out, and they just got chunked down by KSF the whole time.
Yeah, I think that's worth pointing out. You know, we did see some flashes from bye week in map 1, which is, I think, better than last week. So this is encouraging news for bye week fans out there. They are clearly willing to try new things, willing to get better. But yeah, the fundamentals is where they really seem to lack. Like, who do you go on at the right moment? What are the comps you should be bringing out? But they're going to get a chance to redeem themselves in the second map, which is, of course, going to be Numbani as selected by bye week.
Well, the other thing, too, is that if you think about it, they're very behind on practice time relative to every other team. Like, yes, some other teams are new here, but if you haven't been practicing standard dive because you've been doing stuff like quad tank up until the last week, if you're changing significant parts of your team coming in here, you just don't have the time to make standard Overwatch kind of your thing. You already put your chips into the gimmick pile, and it's going to take longer than just 1 week to get them out.
And that's an interesting point, right? Because they are a Contenders trial team truly living that path to pro dream. Come up from open division, win in Contenders trials, make it to Contenders, and they realize, you know, speaking to these guys, they realize that they are not necessarily on the same level as everyone else, but they're very much excited to get this practice, get the opportunity to level up, get competitive experience at what is frankly the very top of the path to pro ceiling. You know, obviously these players want to move on to Overwatch League, et cetera, and what have you, but for them, this is kind of as high as they can get right now, and they can be learning from this.
Oh, absolutely. And again, the key here is they got into the tournament. You would much rather spend your time doing the quad tech stuff they did and then beat the teams that couldn't deal with it, and then, okay, retool, have some rough weeks here against some teams in Group B, but then do better over the course of the season. And even if they did end up in the lower end, just improve your team to the degree that you can stay in Contenders for the rest of the year.
I mean, this is where you're going to be able to make the most improvements, playing up against the best teams in Contenders so far. And so, you know, when they do have teams like Fusion, Optic, and Energy standing in their way, that is where you really do want to try and test it up against them. So we'll see how they continue to improve as the weeks go on. You know, signs were there. Signs of life are there, and I'm glad to see that coming out from them.
Yeah, Dragon Ball Z rules very clearly state that if you fight against someone who's stronger than you, then over time you heal for about a week, and then you come back and you're stronger, and eventually I think bye week hits Super Saiyan.
Okay, let me bring up an ugly part of DBZ here. That's only if you're a Saiyan. If you're a human, if you're TN, you just get your butt kicked over and over again
and watch everyone surpass
while you're there.
Yeah.
Or Yamcha, like, I don't even want to hate on Yamcha.
Is nobody going to make the Krillin joke? I'm right here. We could just make the Krillin joke. I'm always a season behind.
You have way more intimidating facial hair than Krillin could ever have.
That's fair. But yeah, as we said, getting back on topic, bye week is going to have the chance to continue to try out these different strategies, even move in different pieces to their team if they want to, see what works, what doesn't, and then from there make improvements. And I'm excited to see where this team goes over the course of the season, and even in this series. You know, we saw how they performed on Numbani last week. It was not an encouraging sight. This was in the first 2 maps against Optic Gaming when, frankly, it was a 360 windmill slamming from Optic Gaming.
Bring it up to 720.
I'm not sure we have enough degrees how bad that was. I'm curious if they're going to kind of default back into the comfort pick of the quad tank, which we did see them run, or if they're going to stick to this new and improved bye week strategy of we're going to try either comfort picks that are not quad tank or standard dive.
Well, it's kind of a gamble, right? It's like, what do you value? Quad tank probably is not going to be your way forward overall, but Simplicity is probably a weaker team than Optic Gaming. So there is kind of this broad idea of, let's see if they can beat it.
Speaking of let's see if they can beat it, let's see how they do. We are going to hop into Numbani, and it is going to be bye week, seeing if they can equalize against Simplicity.
Yeah, on the defense, they're going to be running standard. Dell, though, will be on the Mercy. Aether on the high ground with that Soldier 76. Simplicity. Retzi already trying to make his way onto the high ground, but Sugar Free is actually in for this game, so it looks like they are going to be going for that full 2-2-2 throughout this.
That's what they're looking for here, and Simplicity on the attack right now, but bye week able to bend back pretty well. They've already taken down 2. Now they can go back onto the point. Simplicity, they just gotta get out. They lost too many early on. They overextended, and bye week kind of shades of Optic and how they were playing this defense. Works out real well.
I mean, that's the great thing about Numbani, right? There's such a familiarity for a lot of these teams coming into this map that you do generally know how to play it just by being able to play on the competitive ladder itself now. And that's what they're doing. Soldier 76 on the high ground. You bend back when the dive comes out onto that 76, and then from there you re-engage upon them. So now, Simplicity resetting. They're waiting for their Winston to get up here, and as soon as he does, they will be going in for that dive.
Simplicity, again, letting KSF build up a Dragon Blade here. That's their win condition, right? He's built up quickly, but DPS focus down. Bye week, knew the target they need to get in on. They get rid of the Winston immediately, and they're getting rid of the key threats here where, okay, KSF, he's probably just gonna get up for Blade and then hold it. You don't want to invest into this fight, it's already gone. But he does get Dell. The problem is that he's probably gonna get staggered. I don't know if that was worth, because Dell's gonna be back a lot sooner than he is.
Oh, with Retzi, though, fighting that frag onto Dogman. Gives them a window of opportunity here. Well, they will have a slight man advantage. The power play coming out from the Sugar Free, hunting down Retzi, who barely makes it out alive to that mega health pack now. But it's gonna be a full reset from both teams. Sugar Free gonna try and contain Retzi on the opposite end, making sure he has both sightlines of the high ground and the low.
Simplicity, this is going to be their best opportunity. KSF with the Blade, but they need to wait for Dogman here. He's back into the fight, he has Transcend. You Blade now, he's going to ruin your day. Well, he's going to Blade, and guess what? There's a Transcendence. Denied. KSF backs out, can't get anything from Blade other than forcing out the ult. Meanwhile, they lose their Zenyatta as Aether comes around the side, but the self-destruct grabs 2. Watch the bomb. Zombs able to make room, and that completely flips the dynamic of the fight.
There's just a slight crack from that angle that was able to get it, but Waifu answers back with a bomb of his own, taking out Ginger Pop along with Zoms' mech, and so somehow, bye week, fight back into this. They did give up a tick, but hey, with the way that fight was going, that's a pretty good result for them.
This has been a very good defense for them here so far. They're taking advantage of the fact that Simplicity is having DPS be a little bit too aggro. They won't be able to do that as well this time because he has Primal Rage, but look, they're 2 fights away from getting a first point hold and likely a victory here.
1 minute, 5 seconds now. Sugar Free once again on the hunt for Retzi. Retzi has not been able to deal with this man whatsoever now. DPS just going to go for that main engage again. They are just going to push up, try to get Soldier 76 on the high ground here. They jump in, but there we go. They continue the dive.
They knocked him down early, or more accurately, he stepped too far back. DPS now with the Primal Rage, having a much better time here. You're not going to focus him down that early, but it's Wanja who goes down early again, and Sugar Free doing his sharp impression, came around from the backside. Not only kills a Zen, but DMX Zoms. He's the terror in the backline of Simplicity right now, and now he's looking for the Winston. Back and forth, tank damage, but all that went on, Retzi crushes the other backline. It's not gonna be enough for Sugar Free. It should be Simplicity's point.
Yeah, Sugar Free has to back away, 30 HP now. It will be Simplicity to finally capture point A, with now 2 minutes and 45 seconds to complete this out to try and get to the second checkpoint here. Bye week, though, they will have a proper re-engage. They've got the barrier along with the self-destruct and, of course, that Soldier 76 ultimate. Tactical Visor coming up.
Well, actually, it's a little bit in question here. If Dell doesn't land any shots or heal up some damage, he might not have the barrier in time. There's a small window for KSF here where he can blade and have no response. He probably doesn't know it's there. He probably thinks there's a barrier up. But they're going to open with the bear of their own. Dell still doesn't have it. KSF dives in, but he gets booped back. However, while this is going on and he gets denied by Dogman, it's still 5-on-5. Simplicity had a decent gauge off the barrier, and they make it pretty even here, which is good for an offense on streets.
Aether caught out with that Soldier 76, decides to run in, and now it's going to allow Retzi to get into the back, forces out the Transcendence. Dogman charges forward, but they don't have the damage behind it. Pulse Bomb comes out. Looks like Zombs might get demeched.
That's actually quite good for Simplicity. I don't think the Transcendence was needed there. Now they can come back with the Transcendence of their own. Barrier out from bye week, Transcendence in for Simplicity. The Transcendence keeping them alive, and they just drop the self-destruct to the back. Bye week has to back out to a degree as both divas fall even back and forth, but now Retzi finding room to work, but until he gets checked by Sugar Free. While this is going on, of course, we see Aether just struggling to get back onto the high ground, which he's going to get here in a moment, but his team is dying all around him. Sugar Free still looking for anything, but cut right down.
KSF will finish him off, and with that, Simplicity will secure the second checkpoint now, and they're left with 2 minutes and 40 seconds to finish this out. Simplicity, though, they're going to be relying upon KSF in this next fight. Gingerpop getting close with that barrier, so he might have the backup of that. But seeing the swap off coming out from Dell, he's got to know he's got a huge window to go in with this blade.
That's not good at all for bye week, where Dell is doing well at keeping KSF back with boops, but your mercy, you can't boop him back now. So KSF, I think he knows, blade out, gonna get Aether, dash reset up, looks for the Winston, dashes to the end, finds Dogman, and this is a dream come true for KSF. The swap from bye week, ill-timed, as Simplicity now easily gets through this first bend.
Ill-timed, but they might have just figured, you know, this is a fight we're going to lose. This is where we can make the swap off. This is where we have the most lenience in that, but now they are coming back. Waifu had to reset his ult. He's on that Diva now. Pulse Bomb out from Retzi, connects. Dogman just was not able to get away from it.
The pressure keeps on coming here. Sugar Free's trying to bring it back, and he takes down 2. He's actually still doing a lot of work here. Aether with room to deal with. Zombs dives in. He's no longer the payload. He does have a self-destruct, and he's going to use it for pressure. And finally, the threat of Sugar Free is down. Baby blaster down. And in fact, Simplicity brings it in. I don't know how 2 members of bye week didn't get on the payload in time, but they didn't.
Yeah, it looked like in the chaos of that fray, in the chaos of course, trying to avoid a self-destruct, neither member decided to give up their life just to go for that contest there. But Simplicity were able to complete it out 1 minute and 24 seconds. So it will be bye week's opportunity to attack now. Sugar Free doing a great job on this Tracer. Will stick with it, while Aether is currently hovering over that far for their offense.
So credit where credit is due. Bye week had a very, very good defense on point A. They were retreating at the right moments. They were blowing up DPS, not actual DPS, but DPS, the player, the tank, very reliably. But it seemed to fall apart for them when they got to the pressure of second into third. And again, I think they probably didn't realize KSF had a blade, but the swap from Lucio to Mercy there was probably the most ill-timed thing they could have had, because it literally gave them no response to the Dragon.
Yep, there was definitely a little bit questionable, but at some point you have to make that call. Are we going to go for this Mercy or not? And I think they just kind of scrapped that fight. They knew they were going to lose it. Now, there was an opportunity, there was a chance, possibly, if they did have that Lucio, of course, that he wouldn't have gotten anything off of it. But to try and rely upon that is a difficult call to make for sure. Now, take a look. Simplicity on their defense. KSF is on the Sombra. So, we'll see. They're going to be giving up, of course, that secondary DPS slot for it. Retzi now going over to Soldier 76 for this defense.
And for bye week here, they're still in a fairly winnable spot. I mean, okay, not every team finished out in Nambani, but this is not the worst situation. They just need to get through first early. And Fair is kind of hit or miss here. I feel like Fair offenses, you either easily crush the other team or you get caught out to a degree that you eventually have to swap it. So bye week, gonna hope that it is the former.
Yeah, and we have to remember that this is also into new Sombra. So if you get hacked as a Pharah, you can't even use your boosters, your space, and like your passive to keep you up. So you do have to be careful about those individual hacks.
Bye week for now, giving Aether time to go, where if he gets a good rocket into the backline, they'll dash in. But they dash in before he's able to get much poke. They kind of put the cart before the horse to a degree. They're not able to focus down DPS early on. But now, Aether's still with room to work with on the top. It's not bad for bye week. They've already gotten a ticket. Simplicity have to move back in, and they're not being anywhere near as decisive enough as they should be. Zom's under pressure, gets healed up just in time. Waifu gets demeched, and now Simplicity can roll back in. They've dealt with the tanks, and DPS, though he was low, finally goes down, but it might be a little bit late. But look at Dogman, plenty of room to work with, but not quite enough. He was about to attack Visor, and yet Retzi shuts it down.
Still, building up that tactical visor in the first fight in the first minute, pretty darn good. No, this is why we saw, this is why Dogman used to be a DPS, you know, he has some great aim. But now, with the tactical visor, that's opened up a huge window for them. I thought it was really strange, though, that they decided to go for that, because it did leave Waifu off in an island. He was actually at about 1 HP in the mech for a good 20 seconds there. If they had a second support to try and keep him alive, they might have actually been able to fight into that. Luckily for them, they did get 2 chicks.
They have the Valkyrie up early in the fight, but it's Sugar Free looking for the pulse bomb. Throws it out on Women of Prayer, does not connect. Meanwhile, Retzi goes, oh, Valkyrie, let me shoot you out of the sky. The tac visor just decimating the backline of bye week. And you gotta deal with Retzi if you want to come in on this point.
Yeah, this is where Dogman does swap back. He did use the tactical visor himself, so he will be going over to that Zenyatta now. And so Waifu and if not, will have some more survivability going into this next fight. Dell even now swapping off as he did use that Valkyrie. So Lucio Zenyatta coming out from bye week.
Bye week's in a rough spot here because this next fight, they don't really have the tools to take it unless they get an early pick off from a Zenyatta or Sugar Free. Barring that, this fight will not go well for them, which means that this is kind of a throwaway fight. You look to get ult up. Hypnot, though, under pressure, too far in, bursted down to start the fight, and again, he was going for Retzi, but he didn't have backup, and Retzi just feasts on his corpse.
Yeah, it starts off with the EMP, and that's just such an easy call coming out from Simplicity there. Everyone caught out in main. So it just melts now in the face of that, in face of all the damage. They just can't stop because, well, the defense matrix isn't there, the bubble isn't there. Now Sugar Free does push forward. KSF, he's almost got the pack back. Now it's the pulse bomb, but it is dodged. He's still doggedly chasing him down.
He's getting res, though. No, he took Ginger Pop. No. Ginger Pop was greedy. He went for the immediate res. He could have waited for tanks. Sugar Free gets in, punishes the green, and bye week finds a way through. And even with the self-destruct by Zoms, they still should be decent here. Zoms gets 2, but it's the tanks of Simplicity. Are they actually going to pull this back after Sugar Free was pulling bye week to victory? That just might be the case.
Yeah, so they will be able to fight back. Zoms, the great 2-man self-destruct there. He is going to reset himself. He knows his team has plenty of time. There's a slight window where they could try and get in there, but it's very small, very minor indeed. Now, Simplicity, lacking in support ultimates. Ginger Pop almost has that Transcendence, that Valkyrie, but the Valkyrie healing is not enough to try and deal with the Blade, and there we go, Blade comes out, Sugar Free starts it off, Pulse Bomb to get 2!
He is not going to be denied in carrying this team. Aether's there, the follow through, as Sugar Free goes, look, if I kill 2 one time and it doesn't work, I'm gonna kill 2 this time and make it work. Oh my goodness, the part where it's just like, team question mark, and that's followed by team exclamation point. Sugar Free, make it happen for bye week, preventing the first point hold.
That was so close. We almost had a repeat of Numbani last week for bye week now, but they keep their hopes alive. Up against Simplicity, Ginger Pop starts off this fight with the Valkyrie out. Sugar Free still in the back line. It's just Dell pushing the point by himself while we have a 2-man self-destruct coming out from Waifu.
Well, Waifu used the distraction with Sugar Free. They were worried about Sugar Free and they weren't looking to the skies. Simplicity's in disarray.
Yeah, definitely, but it was just a well-timed self-destruct coming out from him. They were just stuck under the underpass there. Now Retzi pushes forward. He's got the tactical visor. Already started off with that Helix Rocket kill onto Dell. He's trying to chase anyone down, and it is going to be Sugar Free in the back, but he's dropped low. He's got the help of the orb to keep him alive.
Retzi able to get back in, trying a little bit of stability here to Simplicity. DPS, though, again, a little bit far out, taken down. Bye week coming back in on the other side. And now, as heroic as Sugar Free has been here, he's outgunned on the point, still looking for the D-Mech and actually gets it! His bravery rewarded, even as Retzi cuts his team down from the back end. And, okay, at some point you gotta reset. This has gone too long. Simplicity is in the driver's seat.
Yeah, definitely. Sugar Free, though, still feels that he can survive on the edge here, but with that hack, he has to reset. Is forced to reset by KSF. Now, bye week, remember, this is a pretty long distance to run back. They're almost basically at the end of second. So if they lose a fight, they need to lose a fight quickly.
60 seconds.
1 minute left. This is still a very winnable spot for an offense, but they are so outgunned in terms of support ultimates here where, again, they're victory condition. They need some form of early pickup, but they lose Sugar Free. It's the exact opposite. Now they have to back out, but it's fine. They still have time. They just need a reset.
Transcendence used by Dogman as he was just trying to keep himself in this fight. DPS dropped low, but he's got the pocket of Ginger Pop to keep him alive. It's Waifu once again. Retzi has fallen to the self-destruct. Will they be able to get the res? Here's the blade out from Aether. Aether has to dash back.
They got the res off. Bi-Week's investing too much here. They lost an early fight. You go for the reset, but they're putting all in here, and this is risky. It's risky, but it's also Sugar Free in the back that gets the Zenyatta, so Sugar Free off the back line gets enough, and Bi-Week gets rewarded for that play where it could have very well gone the other way, and they said, no, we don't want to reset, we still want to fight it. And it's off the self-destruct into the Tracer play that gives them a second life.
This is some weird, like, Valiant complex, right? Where you just play out of your mind what gets it to overtime. Sugar Free really keeping his team in it with these amazing plays now. Now, 1 minute and 20 seconds left for Bi-Week to complete out this map. Sugar Free in the backline once again, but that leaves KSF open to get into Dogman.
Dogman out of the fight early on. Sugar Free still looking for heroics here in the back. Retzi under pressure, going to be backing off, and meanwhile, the tank line of Simplicity pushing things back, the self-destruct from Zombs calming things down, and once more, we're into the final minute struggle here for Bi-Week as Sugar Free falls.
Sugar Free has fallen once again. No, he does play just on the line there. He either comes up with a huge play or he falls. Now Dogman almost falls, taking Retzi nearly with him now. It's a full reset. They will have the Transcendence for Dogman, possibly with the blade behind it.
He's under pressure. He has to be careful not to use it here too early, and now they're stuck in a final fight, so if anyone's under pressure, you gotta use it, and he uses it just in time. Was almost down before he used it. It got forced out, but the problem is that Simplicity able to make space with the Primal Rage, but DPS, is he gonna fall? He got away! He was down to 50 HP! You gotta convert on that kill. Now DPS gets to go back to full. Simplicity completes the disengage, and now they go for the re-engage. Retzi off the tack visor. Aether, late blade, grabs 2. The flankers of Bi-Week keeping them alive, but imagine where this would be if they got the early pick onto DPS.
Somehow Aether, even through the hack, was able to get it, and so now it's the overtime push. We do have the respawners coming in. The Sombra KSF stalling this out. DPS even on the point. He does fall to 1-for-1 exchange. They have the Transcendence now as the respawns are coming in for Simplicity along with the EMP. KSF melts down Dogman, and with that, we'll see. They're trying to force them back. The sound barrier is there, but it does fizzle away. KSF once again still alive with this Sombra, just getting so much damage off.
KSF in the back, looking for a little bit more, gets Del away. No one's looking at KSF, and that's gonna be enough. Simplicity, endure here on the Bonnie, and they take map number 2.
All right, so Simplicity now up 2-0, but let's talk about the things Bi-Week did correctly in that one. It was messy at times. It was far from clean. Thank goodness we have Old Spice here as a sponsor, because a lot of these people are going to need showers after this one. But Bi-Week finding ways to connect some of these dots and make some progress compared to their performance last week on New Bonnie.
I'm sure those were all valid points, but I was doing my hand push-ups here.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Is that a hand shirt?
This is a hand shirt for the hand gym. I'm trying to get my gains, dude.
I can definitely see that. It's a little chilly in the studio, so I can appreciate your one hand shirt that you're wearing on your one specific hand.
Well, it's a strong hand, so it's okay. Yeah.
Well, look.
Why wouldn't you work out the weak hand?
Well, first of all, I want to work out my strong hand. I don't want to end up like Sideshow, where if you have a weak wrist game, you could break your wrist. So this is my way of making sure that I don't end up with the cast on my hand. Also, I will avoid skiing.
Well, this has all been extremely intuitive, and I'm really glad we pointed all these things out. But great hand shirt. Looking forward to, I guess, you having one strong hand and one hand that's unworked out. Did you forget about left hand day, bro?
I did.
All right, well, let's go ahead and talk about the match. Sugar Free channeling his inner Sabiobi, his inner Sharp in this match, and really went to town and kind of put Bi-Week up on his back at points.
I think it was ridiculous where they had that fight on the bind that they should have taken, where Ginger Pop got super greedy, and then they lost because of tank play. And then Sugar Free comes back next fight is like, yeah, we're doing this again. I'm still making us take this first point.
Yeah, I mean, his play alone has been enabling people like Aether along with Hypnot, even though Hypnot still is receiving the brunt of the focus. He has been having a great game so far on that Winston. There's some places where I think he could clean up his Winston play. There was a Diva Bomb, which could have come up huge if he had used his Primal Rage to try and get Retsy back into the fight, into the line of sight of that. But beyond that, I think they are cleaning a lot of things up, and it is off the back of Sugar Free.
All right,
That's all I have to say.
Oh,
Yes.
No,
Just
sorry.
making sure you weren't.
I'm making my point with my hand. But yeah, I mean, I completely agree. Sugar Free was the stand-up player there. Overall, I think it was a better look for bye week. But the same note is kind of, you can't always rely on your DPS to be heroes and get you out of those situations. I think that overall, they're still lacking in terms of just basic take coordination going in. There was also weird errors that ended up working out for them, like going to that final fight where they lost one and then Dogman comes with Transcendence. Just because it works out doesn't mean it was the best possible play in that situation. They were able to make it work, but it's just weird game flow issues that even when it worked, you're kind of like,
Well, Simplicity now up 2-0, and we're going to take a short break so that ZP can get his workout at the hand gym, but don't go anywhere. We'll be right back to see if bye week can equalize this and maybe even force a game 5.